Your San Francisco 49ers are 5-0, coming off a very big emotional win against a rival, the Dallas Cowboys. These are the types of games where letdowns may happen. That may be possible here in Cleveland. The 49ers have to travel all the way to the East Coast. They played the early game, and there's tons to talk about, and we're going to do just that next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And it's a Wednesday night, which means Behind Enemy Lines is here. And I got my man, Garrett Bush, with me. But I want to give him a proper introduction because this man is a hustler. This man is a part of the YouTube channel Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. He's also a host on 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. He does some work for Bleacher Report and has his own show, The Barber Shop, that you can find under his YouTube channel that is under his name, coincidentally enough. The link is in the description. Garrett, my man, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Listen, I gotta shout you out, man. I look at the intro and this is a nice setup. I like what I see, my man. I said, you hit the intro. I said, oh, yeah, he's not playing around with nobody. Yeah, listen, I'm glad to be on talking to the fans of the West Coast. And I appreciate the intro. Just excited to talk a little ball with you today. And hopefully we can do some good numbers, man.
Absolutely. Real quick, we'll jump through these super chats and then we'll get into the conversation. Nagel Fam says, I'm a member. I appreciate that. Appreciate you becoming a member. And Frank Tom Ocean says, these are the best shows of the week. Thank you both. Absolutely. And, Garrett's given us an hour of his time. Appreciate him. Just like I appreciate our guests every single week. But I got to know, Garrett, Cleveland is interesting to me. I've got a second channel where it's an all NFL channel. During the offseason, I talked about the Cleveland Browns, and I had 5 reasons why I thought they could be the sleeper team of the NFL. I thought they could make the playoffs and possibly make a deep run. Now, I have to admit that 3 of those reasons seem to be completely out the window. Right? And we'll get to one of those reasons in a minute, but one of them was Chubb going down. Grant went down before the season even started. I thought he could be a dynamic kick returner for y'all. But what were the season expectations? Obviously, you signed Deshaun Watson, you got Stefanski, you got the whole crew there, uber talented team. But coming into the season, what do you think fans expected from this team?
Fans expected this season coming into expectations were playoff or bust. Kevin Stefanski was the coach of the year back in 2020. It led us to the playoffs. You beat a division rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, at Pittsburgh to win a playoff game. And we thought this is the beginning of something, man. Baker Mayfield looked like he was going to be a guy that was going to be a real quarterback, franchise quarterback. And then as the years started to progress, everything started to unravel. Obviously, it started with the Odell Beckham Jr. thing. We ended up getting rid of him at the beginning of the season. Coincidentally, he goes on to play much better for the Rams, wins a Super Bowl. Next year comes back. We now have a little bit of problems with Jarvis Landry. Obviously, him and Odell Beckham Jr. are really close friends. Baker Mayfield started to regress, and half of it was due to his injury. So he has the injury to his non-throwing shoulder, and he just never played. He just never recovered from it. He sat out a game, and then after he came back, he just wasn't the same quarterback. You fast forward into the offseason, they obviously found, they look at Deshaun Watson and think that, okay, we got to upgrade. We finally got a franchise quarterback. You move on from Baker, coincidentally, and now it looks like Baker's playing a little bit better. But everybody in Cleveland was like, hey, look, if Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson from Houston, we're ready to go. You add him to that running game. You add him to that defense. You got Jim Schwartz, and the defense is one of the most dominant defenses in the league. We think it's a top 5 defense. But you have this situation now where it's week in and week out. All of a sudden, you have the Deshaun Watson shoulder. And here we are going into a game, with the 49ers, who right now, in my opinion, are the best team in the league with the Philadelphia Eagles, dominating performance against the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys look like Cowboys. Y'all did them so dirty that they just kept showing Dak Prescott on the sideline, just shell shocked. He's just looking up like this. He's like, how's Brock Purdy moving the ball? Ain't nobody open for me. He's just looking up. It was bad for him, bro. And they come in rolling in the town, and we don't even know who's gonna play quarterback for us. So it's a very interesting week. But to be more concise, we thought we were at least making the playoffs. In the AFC, we knew it was an uphill battle because it was a loaded division out there. But we felt we had the talent to, and still have the talent. If they can get Deshaun Watson back, to make a wild card or playoff run.
Well, the season started off fantastic. It couldn't have started off any better, right? You played Cincinnati, I believe, week 1, blew them out the water, made that look easy. And you're thinking, okay, this is exactly what we thought it was. This defense is as advertised, got arguably the best running back in the game. I mean, the way I see it now, CMC's having a hell of a year. But Chubb was like the one guy that was kind of right there with CMC. Now that Chubb's out, there's a big drop-off, I think, between CMC and everybody else. Chubb was that good. Now, obviously, they bring back Kareem Hunt. He's a decent player, but he's not on the level of Chubb. You have some injuries. And I know this week there's a lot of injuries coming into the game. Deshaun Watson, who we'll get to in a minute. I think Pochik is possibly out. You have some other offensive linemen that are kind of in and out. So coming off of a bye week, this is not ideal, knowing that really the division is there for the taking. Every team in the division has at least 2 losses. So Cleveland's right there. But now you do have to play a Niner team that seems to be the hottest team in football, and nobody's able to slow them down. So I think it's a tough task for sure. And I think Cleveland will be up to it. It just depends on what's going on with Deshaun Watson. And I know he didn't practice today. He's got this rotator cuff thing. First of all, I'll ask you, do you think he's going to play this week? We'll start there, and then I've got some other questions around Deshaun Watson.
He's not playing. I was on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show in the barbershop, and I've been doing blogs dating back to after he plays a game against Tennessee. I told people in Cleveland, oh, just stop being so negative, J. Bush. Don't be negative. I'm like, listen, man, I don't feel right about the shoulder. I'm going to just keep it real with you. He's not playing. I think they handled it wrong. Once again, I mean, it's Cleveland, it's quarterbacks. We kind of went through the same thing with Baker Mayfield. When you got a shoulder injury and it's your throwing shoulder, you can say and you can prognosticate and you can say all you want. Oh, he'll be fine. Structurally, he'll be good to go. And I'm like, well, look, I've had, I played college football. I've had 17, 18 surgeries. So I just know what it feels like. One of the worst ones was my neck surgery. And, I had that after just because of the accumulation of football hits. And it's just like, when you have nerve damage or you have things of that sort, it's not whether or not you could deal with the pain. It's whether or not you could push the football down the field. Can you get enough on it for 10 to 20 yards if you may have nerve issues or a partially torn rotator cuff? We've been, I guess guessing what type of things could be keeping them out. And when you throw a football and you throw the ball one time in practice and then you go off to the side and you talk to the trainer, it's the worst thing that could ever happen, because now that's just like oh goodness, it's that pain that goes through you, and it's a realization that I can't throw the football. That was 2 weeks ago. So, they come out and say, well, after the game, well, he was cleared structurally. Okay, well, now obviously that wasn't the case because he can't throw a football. Now you're getting the backup quarterback, DTR. He's saying he didn't know he was going to be playing till Sunday at 10:30 in the morning. On the bye week, the general manager comes out and says, I want to walk it back a little bit because we don't want to make him look like he's soft. But we expect Deshaun to play against the 49ers. And I'm like, why would you do cleanup on aisle 1 and then come back and give another timetable on when he's going to play? And now this week, they're like, hey, we got no DTR. PJ Walker. Yeah, PJ Walker's going to start. Yeah, he's off the practice squad. If he doesn't play, PJ Walker's going to start. And I'm like, listen, man, he threw 5 touchdowns, 11 picks. It's just he's not going to play this week. And to be honest with you, the way we are doing Ole blocks at left tackle with Jed Wills, I don't know if I want him out there against Nick Bosa. Anyway, because if his shoulder wasn't hurt now, it might hurt a little bit after this game.
Yeah, the last thing you need is for him to get buried on that shoulder again. Do you think that I almost get the feeling from you, G. Bush, that they should have put him on IR, in your opinion, giving him the 4 weeks?
What they should have did first, I would have never and Kevin Stefanski never he plays everything close to the vest.
Mm-hmm.
So people in the media pounced when they said, well, he was cleared to play. He's structural, everything's fine. Whoa, we looking around like, well, why would you say that? Like, because here's the thing. We'll get into Deshaun Watson and some of the other stuff that comes with the package, because in Cleveland, it's not a foregone conclusion that like Deshaun Watson is back to being who Deshaun Watson is, or there's, our fan base is split a little bit in terms of, I wouldn't say a little bit, a whole lot with first of all, going after Deshaun Watson. There was a group of people who thought they shouldn't have. There's a group of because of the allegations and things off the field. There's another group of people who didn't think they should have went after him because of the $230 guaranteed $1 million and draft picks. There's another group of people that say we should have went after him because they still think that Baker Mayfield should have gotten another opportunity to get a contract. So there's another faction of people that are going to ride with Deshaun Watson regardless, because they think he's the best quarterback they've had, and he just needs to get back to where he was at. So you got these different faction and groups set up. And the thing that doesn't help Deshaun Watson is if there's a perception out there in the Browns community or the media that he's not going to play if everything isn't 100%, or he's not going to be, a guy that's going to be able to tough it out. We know that's not the truth because we've seen him play through all kind of crazy injuries, dating back to Clemson and the Houston Texans. However, when you say those things, you put a timetable on it, and then when the general manager comes back and doubles down on it a little bit, and he doesn't play this week, now you get people saying, "Well, hold on, what's going on? Is it?" I mean, the GM and the coach said you should be playing. What's the deal? And I've always tried to tell people, look, we should be learning from our past. We put Baker Mayfield out there last year when he had a torn rotator cuff, or 2 years ago now, and he just wasn't the same quarterback. He should have sat him and figured it out and went with a backup quarterback till everything was cool. I think they're trying to do that now. And as we talked about it, this is the worst game to come back to if you're thinking about it. When you look at the defensive line, and Fred Warner, secondary is solid. We see Nick Bosa here at the great Buckeye State. We know what he's about. We know what the other defense. So they got their work cut out for him, regardless if Deshaun Watson was playing or he wasn't playing. It was still going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, most certainly. And I agree with that. I don't know that it would make a difference necessarily in this game, but you started to answer the question a little bit, and it sounds like with so many different break off or branches of the fan base for one reason or another, not necessarily being behind Deshaun Watson and bringing him into Cleveland, I can understand those things, that you're kind of giving them fuel to the fire when you say things like this, like, oh, we expect him to be back, and then he's not. Now you got people saying, oh, he's soft, he should be playing. You're really kind of stroking that fire there. And I don't know that that's a good idea to do to the fan base, but do you think that it's more people, for whatever reason, more people than not that are out on the Deshaun Watson? And how long do you realistically think that he gets? I mean, the contract is guaranteed. There's no way out of this thing.
Oh, well, that's the thing about contracts in the contract that big. He'll outlast. I call it the Game of Thrones. He'll outlast his predecessors. Does that sound like the architect in Neo? Your predecessors, you're the one, Neo. There were 6 anomalies. Well, in this iteration of the Matrix, Deshaun Watson ain't going nowhere. He got the guarantee bag, and I've already talked about it. Like, look, first was Odell Beckham Jr. All right, move along. Second of them was Baker Mayfield. He wanted to be the king. Long live the king. The king's dead. They got a new quarterback. Guess what? Now the next on the chopping block is either Andrew Berry or Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski is in a pinch right now because right now he's filling that hot seat. Last year, we punted on the season. When Deshaun Watson got 11 games out of here, and basically they knew he was coming back with 6 games left. They played Jacoby Brissett. They really didn't spend any money in free agency to upgrade the receiving core or the defensive line. Joe Woods was a travesty as a defensive coordinator, and they kept him because, you know what? We're going to punt on the year. We're not going to be able to be competitive without Deshaun. So they went with Jacoby Brissett and kind of punted on last year. What happens when you do that? You come in last place last year, and Kenny Pickett is for the Pittsburgh Steelers as a rookie, and they finish ahead of you again. You get to this year, you upgrade the defense, you do all the different things you need to do. Defense looks like it's great. You went out and get a bunch of guys, free agents, and you're ready to go. And guess what? You lose Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, like you said with Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb is a difference maker in every way, shape, or form. I get mad at people sometimes when they tell me you don't pay a running back or running backs don't count. Or listen, stop. I guarantee you they ain't saying that now. When you get a guy like Nick Chubb, he's going to automatically make your offensive line look better. He's going to make your pass game look better because the games or the touches that he gets that he should have been tackled in the backfield, he's cutting those back because he has elite vision. The plays where he meets a guy in the hole, he's making 90% of those guys miss on first contact. After that, he gets hit by 2 or 3 more people, and his strength and power move the pile 2 or 3 more yards. So you may say, "Oh wow, my offensive lineman and our line is great." Is it really great, or is it Nick Chubb making you look good? And now Nick Chubb is no longer there. You can't use that crutch. You can't lean on the run game. So now as a play caller, everything you call has to be pinpoint. Your first 15 scripted plays better be on point. You better be able to make some adjustments when it comes to halftime. You got to keep the run game. Now, instead of getting those 5-6 yards, 5.6, I think that's his career yards per average. Instead of getting that, you're getting 3. So now you got to stay patient with the run. You got to still be able to be married to the run so that you can stop the pass rush and you don't put younger guys back there that are throwing the ball more and you're giving the defense an opportunity to tee off. And then it's even worse because now it doesn't look like Deshaun Watson is playing. So now you're definitely screwed. So for me, I look at it like this. This game for the Browns is going to come down to the defense. For them to even win, they got to have a 1985 Bears performance on the defense. Yeah. Myles Garrett might have to have 9-10 sacks. You're going to have to, but you're asking them to get turnovers. We haven't even really gotten turnovers like that this year. And the thing that really is tough is Brock Purdy. He just doesn't turn the football over. So, and where these turnovers coming from? It's an uphill battle with the Browns for scoring enough points, and it's just one of those games where I'm looking at Kevin Stefanski because this could get ugly. Like if you don't run the football enough, you don't shorten this game, you don't move the sticks and kind of put, we want this game to be ugly as possible. You can't be. They'll put 45, 46, they'll put 50 on you, man. And you might not score. So I'm gonna see what he brings and what kind of energy the team brings because this is a grown man test coming up this week.
When it comes to Deshaun Watson and his chances to returning to form, where do you stand on that? Do you think that he has a chance to return to form and be old Deshaun, or do you think that's long gone?
I think there's 2 things. One thing that will help Deshaun Watson get back to form is a bona fide play caller, right? Mm-hmm. A bona fide guy, kind of like Kyle Shanahan, who's going to use the run, who's going to be creative, run the ball for multiple different formations, multiple different sets, running backs, receivers, misdirection plays, play action off of it. With a guy with a coordinator like that, yes. Also, if you go back and look at Tennessee Titans game, and he played probably his best game since he was at Cleveland Brown.
Yep.
We started to see some of those things that we paid for. We're starting to see some of the dividends that we wanted to see in terms of him getting back to that guy and when he was in Houston. I think he could do it. It's just for the simple fact that you got to have the right scheme, the right people, and I think Nick Chubb being hurt that a little bit as well. But we saw some of that, and we saw flashes. I think he could get back there. But for me, football is football. Like, football is not an easy sport. Sometimes, man, you talk about basketball, you could work your way back into it. Like, oh, Steph, he'll just work on a shot, and we'll work on getting him a couple shots, few free throws. He'll be back. Oh, LeBron, don't worry about it. He get his ankle healed up. This is football, man. Right when you think you got it figured out, somebody else is on the other side of the chessboard, be like, we just saw that on tape. Right when you think you're getting ready to go and knocking the rust off, this is a savage sport. You get injured. So now you're dealing with the fact that I was still trying to knock the rust off. I'm still trying to learn a new offense, and at the same time, I'm injured a little bit. So now I don't know if my mechanics, I don't know if I could push the football. So there's a lot of things that go into it. I think he could do it in a vacuum. If everything is clear and 100%, I think he was already starting to show the signs of getting back there. However, there's other things. This game ain't, it is what it is. Like there's some obstacles out there. And those obstacles are real things. Now you have to take into account of the shoulder injury and what kind of plays you want to run. I know you're not going to be calling them design runs for him. And that's part of what you like with Deshaun. You don't want him running around, scrambling, trying to extend plays, taking hits. That's another big part of his game. So these are all things that go into it. If you had to ask me, if he can get back right in 3 or 4 weeks, I think, and he can throw the football, I think he can be back to normal, and I think he can start that progress. But now that the shoulder's involved, now that you're getting into the meat and the heart of your schedule, the only question is, if you do miss 3 or 4 games, are you still in the hunt? Are you still in the hunt to get in the playoffs because he's been out so long?
Well, we're going to talk about Stefanski, and I have a name for you that I want to see what your thoughts are on that. But you're right. I mean, the league is unforgiving. It is undefeated and unforgiving, and so much changes in 2 years. Not only does Deshaun go to a new team, have to learn a new offense, get new teammates, not play for a couple years, but defensive schemes completely change over the course of 2 years. I mean, they went from middle field close, cover 1, cover 3 type defense to 2 deep shells. And everything swapped in 2 years. That's how fast it changes. So that's what happened to Deshaun Watson. We'll see if he can get back to form. Let's get to these super chats real quick. Brother Bob says he grew up in Cleveland, went to Ignatius, and lived in Twinsburg. You familiar?
Shout out to St. Ignatius. I went to Camp McKinley. And we played St. Ignatius every year in the playoffs. We played them always since the 80s, and we had some battles going back in high school. We won Ignatius, I think in the 90s. I think they won pretty much every championship except for the 2 years that we won it. So Chuck Kyle, we have him on our coach, legendary high school coach Chuck Kyle. We have him on our show all the time. So yeah, definitely shout out to brother Bob out there, and I see you out there, Twinsburg. I see you too, man.
There we go. It's Vito Baby says, I heard someone say Jeremy Chen to the Niners. What do you think about that? If we end up looking at trades at all before the deadline, who do you want? I mean, the better. Obviously, I want to go big or go home. I want the 49ers to go get a bona fide superstar at corner. They have the money. Cheating. They have the draft picks.
Oh, my gosh. Y'all already good enough. Stop going out upgrading.
We got to win a Super Bowl, man. We got to get a ring.
You out here smashing folks. And you talk about, can we get one of the best corner? I want a lockdown corner. What? These guys are crazy.
Listen, man. Hey, Chin would be a nice addition. He's a hell of a football player, but he's kind of redundant to what we already have, I think. But, he's talented, so I wouldn't be that mad at it. Brother Bob says he did leave Cleveland, but I left the mistake by the lake. It was too damn cold for him. He says he couldn't do it.
I don't blame you, bro. The winters be bad, bro. You stay in Cali if you out there, man. Shout out to y'all on the West Coast.
He says the 49ers 44, Stale Brownie 6. Y'all need Kosar back.
Hey, Bernie is one of my good friends. Bernie ain't got no plays left. Bernie ain't got plays left. Ironically, I was watching one of the playoff games. The one game that we played well against the 49ers, Bernie played on a Monday night. He threw a couple touchdowns to Michael Jackson in the dog pound. Browns win that game. I think it was 1993 or something like that. Yeah, come on now. I wouldn't. Hopefully we get on the board though.
Brother Bob says rotator cuff. How do you do that? Okay, I'm done. Listen, Brother Bob, you're always pressing the line around here, man. You got to be careful. I'm not reading the next one. I already know where you're going with it. We're not doing that. And then Sammy and Pickle say, G. Bush, the best behind the enemy lines content creator interview so far.
Hey, man, I'll take praise, that, man.
That's big praise.
That. I appreciate it.
I like it. All right, let's talk about Coach Stefanski. So, man, a lot of promise for him. He was one of these young, up-and-coming offensive gurus. I think he's still around 41 years old. Mm-hmm. But this might be it for him. You know, it's the league is quick. As you said, Deshaun Watson's going to outlast Stefanski, and this might be the final year. I don't know if you've put any thought into who you would want, but my favorite name right now of the up-and-coming offensive coaches that I think would be perfect really for a lot of teams, but I think Cleveland would be a great fit for him. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Lions. You talk about a dynamic running game, showing a ton of things out of a ton of formations. I mean, he's got it all going on there with the Detroit Lions. What do you think about that name? And just Stefanski overall, I know you said that this might be it for him, but do you think like, hey, if they don't make the playoffs, he's gone? Would you be shocked if he's still around?
Yeah, no. I definitely think if they don't make the playoffs, he's not going to be around. And it's just for the simple fact that, you know, and that goes to the general manager Andrew Berry as well. Mm-hmm. You got to take a look at it in terms of this, and me being around or being in contact with sources and with some of the top-notch players. They're not gonna sit around anymore. I know for a fact if you got guys like Joe Bitonio, who's been a multi-time Pro Bowler, you got guys like Myles Garrett, who's been here for one of the best defensive ends in the game. These guys want to get to the playoffs, and I've heard this is an actual quote from people in different camps saying, "Listen, I'm not about to sit around here like Joe Thomas and waste my career." And a lot of people, when I heard that, that hit different for me because I understand what that means, and I can understand that sentiment. You know, Joe Thomas I happen to be, I call a friend of mine. I asked him, I said, you know, what's the deal? Would you have wanted an opportunity to win a championship, or you want the gold jacket? And he paused for a long time. He said, man, getting a gold jacket is one of the biggest, you know what I'm saying, one of the biggest accomplishments in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's an elite fraternity. He said, but I'm going to tell you what, though, man, the opportunity to play for a championship is something you never forget at any level. You know, I go back to high school, and it's just high school. And I see those guys, and I'm like, wow, man, we won a championship. And I talk to people in college who've done that as well. And it's nothing like winning at that high level. So these guys want to win. These guys, it's difficult for you to come back as the Cleveland Browns in 1999. And you come back in 99 and you see, you know, expansion teams like the Jaguars that are going to AFC championships and the Panthers go to the Super Bowl. You see teams like, you know, heck, Jacksonville went with Urban Meyer. They were a dumpster fire. They went 1-something. The next year, they go get another coach, same profile, same people, and they go to the playoffs. So it's hard for us to sit here and you mentioned the Detroit Lions because, you know, the only teams that haven't won are us and the Lions, right? And you know, we watch them. They kind of remind me a little bit of the 2020 Browns. That's the way they play. Golf is not going to try to make that many mistakes. They got the guy like Amon St. Brown. He's a monster. They run the football, good offensive line. They got Hutchinson is a great defensive end. They get after it up front. They play hard. They play fast, and you respect that. But for the Browns, it has to come a point in time where you have to be able to put it together, and you have to say, look, we've been given a lot. We could arguably say that you had at one point one of the top 3 running backs. You had a top 3 pass rusher, right? You got, you know what I'm saying, you go out and get Deshaun Watson. You got a nice secondary. You got a good, like, you have all the pieces. You got the pieces. Like, you got the ingredients to make a great meal. Now it's up to the chef to go in there and cook something up and make a Michelin star type meal. And it's just been mediocre. We've been getting Easy Mac. And Easy Mac is great when you're hungry. That Easy Mac ain't gonna get it done. When you start getting grown, you're like, bro, I'm 35. I'm still eating Easy Mac. I want a steak and some asparagus, bro. This is crazy. I mean, cold cuts. Cold, like, nah, that's college food, bro. Like, I want to, you know how I be. Like, sometimes you want to go to a nice restaurant and not look at the price on the menu. I don't care. I just want that. Just give me that and dessert. You don't have to say, oh, you act like I'm full. Any desserts for you over here? No, I'm way too stuffed. In the back of your mind, you want that thick New York cheesecake. You know you want that cheesecake. Go ahead, get it. Go up top.
Oh, so I know how this goes. When the team's not winning, really people start to turn their sights very early on, and maybe that's around the corner. Maybe these conversations have already happened. Has names already been floated around the Cleveland fan base? Are you starting to see those things, or are they still kind of hoping that this season turns around?
See, that's our problem. Like, when you start looking for the names, what start happening is you realize them names ain't coming. Like, we want, like, of course you would love to get certain guys, right? To me, I would just do it like this. Hey, man, hey, Jim Schwartz, I know you're a little older. Hey, come on here. You could be a DB. You could be our DB. Go ahead, be our coordinator or be a head coach, and go find the best coordinator you can find. Give me somebody, the Mike McDaniel. Listen, these dudes, I don't know what the Dolphins is running a playbook I ain't never seen before. I'm looking at the Dolphins. I'm like, how do you, like, it looked like the CFL. I'm like, can you have that man in motion? I'm looking at the rule books like, can you move a motion guy and then split them out and then run flex? I don't understand what that is. I want one of them playbooks. Give me one of them. That's why I love, like, and we had Kyle Shanahan here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he infamously said, let me give you a PowerPoint presentation. That's why I need to be the heck up out of here. And he leaves. And I just love the creativity in which he calls plays. Like, you know, he uses tight end motion. He uses fullback motion. The split action he runs. You know, he runs the ball from all these platforms, man. I'm Brandon Ayuk. You got Deebo Samuel running the football. And then George Kittle is, you know, and now, you know, one of my things, and I got George Kittle in my fantasy, and I've had him a couple years. I'm like, oh, this is, you know what? So this is the year you choose to have fantasy points? I'm like, when they start spot shadowing Kittle? What was this at in 2021? This is crazy, bro. I'm like, Kittle is just open now? And you got McCaffrey? Y'all be cheating. I'm telling you, I'll be cheating a little bit, bro. You be cheating a little bit. I'm just not lying. Like, I like to. I actually tell people, I wish sometimes they would just cut, copy, and paste. Just like, why are we trying to run our own stuff? Why don't you just go to the all 22 and be like, hey, it's a la carte buffet. Which play do you like from here? I'm taking 3 of them plays and running them. Like, why would you come up with your own stuff? You don't have to be smart. Just cheat.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, man. It's a copycat league. I'll tell you this, if you guys are in the market for a GM, our assistant GM is most likely going to be gone, Adam Peters. Keep your eye on him. Maybe he's headed your way. We'll see.
Hey, man, send him my business card. Send him my business card. We get him together. I'm gonna make them interview him, right?
I love it. It's Vito Baby says Niners 33, Browns 27 in overtime. Wow, you think it's going to be close. Browns defense will play well against us, I think. No match for Purdy in the end. That is just my opinion. Okay, I think you're being very, very fair.
If we got that, I could go to the post-game show pumped.
feeling
Like
good
to
about
what? Nah, well, that's a win.
We're chalking that up in the win column. I
That's a
love
win.
it.
Because like when the special team coach tell them run off the field after they only give up 3, good job. Good job. We only sudden change. Good job.
Patting behinds and everything.
Yeah,
Hey, good
listen.
job. Good job.
Right.
Brother Bob says the best steakhouse in Cleveland is at Brown Derby. Remember that?
Hey man, listen, there's a Brown Derby. Like, and you see, I'm an aficionado when it comes to this food. I'm not fat for a reason. Like I listen, Brown Derby got this 2 pork chop meal. But these pork chops is like steak pork chops. I don't even know what they is. And at Brown Derby, they be giving you this salad. The salad so big it's for the whole table. You'd be like, hold on, who's this salad for? It come in a huge bowl. It's crazy. Shout out to Brown Derby, man. It's one of my favorite restaurants.
Hey, he hit home. You found a way to his heart, Brother Bob.
There it is.
Good on you. Good on you. I love it. Okay. I ask this question every week, and every week I say it's my favorite question. I'm going to say it again because not every fan watches every team, every play, knows everything that's about to happen. Now, obviously, the big name players, we know the Garretts, we know the Watsons, we know the Chubbs, we know, the Njokus and all the great players that are over there. But every team has that one player that has either revived their career or is on the come up that the fan base is very excited about. Who is that player for Cleveland? And they don't necessarily have to have an impact this week, but just going forward, who's that player that the Cleveland fan base, or just you in particular, are excited about that may not be as well known?
Well, there's a couple guys, and it's a shame I can't say anybody on the offensive side of the football. Actually, I can. Jack Conklin went down. I'll give you 2. Jack Conklin went down, and we had just given him an extension, which I thought it was a problem. You should have never given him that extension. I thought he was done last year, but I digress. Then you come in and get a 4th round pick, DeJuan Jones out of Ohio State. One of the biggest human beings I've ever seen in my life, and put it in perspective. I'm 6'5", like 320. Now put it on like him, like he's 6'8", like 370. The man is huge. I think he has all-time great pass rush ability. Like as far as him kick slide and pass blocking, he has elite length. He has Hall of Fame length. He has really great feet. And he has not allowed that many sacks. He's had a lot of some pressures, but under 5, he's just been a really good, solid dude over there. And I think for a guy that's been thrown into the mix over there, I think he's just marked himself as the new tackle. I think moving forward, they'll have to find something to do with Jack Conklin. I don't know if they're going to move him because Jedrick Wills is horrible. I can't repeat how bad Jedrick Wills is, and y'all going to eat a buffet against him coming up this weekend. But DeJuan Jones on the offensive side of football, I think he has some stuff to work on as far as his run blocking. I think that's a function of him just not quite knowing his assignments when it comes to the outside zone, inside zone stuff, and just communicating with the guards and knowing when to go to the next level and when to kind of, take the man or pass him off. And then on defense, this guy should have been a household name, because I thought going back to when he came out of college out of LSU, Grant Delpit was going to be one of those guys.
Me too.
Listen, I thought he was. They've had Adams, they've had a bunch of people over there at safety for LSU, and when he came out like as an underclassman, he's everywhere. I mean, he was in passing lanes. would turn on the CBS game of the week and be like, man, who is this? This number 7, does he play corner or safety? He was just everywhere. He was baiting people, making tackles in the box. He could rush the passer a little bit. I love this dude. He comes to Cleveland. We draft him. We get him in the 2nd round because he slipped a little bit with an ankle injury. And he kind of, was marred back and forth his junior year with just injuries. So he fell to the 2nd round. We take him. And then his first year, he's looking great in camp. He tears his Achilles heel. After he tears his Achilles heel, he came back, started the last couple of years under Joe Woods' defense, but I never thought Joe Woods used him correctly. I thought he always used him as a post guy. I thought you need to move him around, make sure he's in the box, and just make sure that he's a piece on the chessboard where he's impacted all different levels of the field. You switch over, you bring in Jim Schwartz, and he's been playing like a top 5 safety. He had a tough game the last game out against the Baltimore Ravens, but all of us did against that game. They ran the ball a lot better than we thought we wanted them to let them run the football. But I'll tell you what, he's been lights out playing like a top 5 safety, according to PFF. And he's just flashing all over the place. He looks like he's fully recovered. It's a contract year for him. So I think that is a little extra motivation, but he looks like he's really becoming an impact type player on the defense. And the defense, as you can see, we haven't had many bad words about the defense because they've been playing great this year. So Grant Delpit is a guy who, if you're watching, 22 for the Browns, he'll be around the football and you say, he's a good football player.
Yeah, Delpit, I liked him a lot coming out of college. Another player that I liked quite a bit, and actually I thought when the 49ers were looking at shopping Debo before they extended him and the Jets were a possibility, I said, you got to figure out a way, if Debo goes over there, to just sneak on Elijah Moore and bring him on over. How's he been playing for Cleveland? I know the quarterback situation isn't the best, but he's showing some talent over there, right? You seen some flashes from him, or what do you think?
Well, they told us coming into the season that this was going to be a breakout candidate. They said this offense was going to be different because of Elijah Moore. There was guys who the beat reporters who was at OTAs and at camp. Every time we have him on the show, have him on the radio show, they like, G. Bush, I'm telling you, Elijah Moore is out here looking crazy. Can't nobody guard him. Like they using him at all these different levels. And then we get to the season, and I'm like, where's this Elijah Moore playbook y'all was talking about? This ain't it. Like you do a couple of reversals with my man, and that's all you moving with. There's no creativity. Where's the mesh concepts? Where's the high-low concepts? Where's some of the different things that you could do off jet motion? And it's just the RPO game. It just hasn't been there. And I don't think it's a function of Elijah Moore not living up to capabilities. I just think that Kevin Stefanski is struggling to integrate him in a playbook like that. And when you don't, once again, I keep going back to it. The Cleveland Browns basically were built to run the football with Nick Chubb. That's what they were built on. Kevin Stefanski, instead of trying to, sometimes you have a building, right? And that building could be for manufacturing. And you said, but you know what? I wanted to be a department store, a grocery store, right? It's because it's in a good area. So you'll say, all right, well, listen, it's a manufacturing. Let's see if we could go ahead and don't tear down the whole facility. Just revamp it. Let's repurpose it for a new concept. And sometimes during that process, when you're doing that, if you have things that are kind of messed up, maybe your ceiling or your plumbing, or you can't get a permit for certain things, it messes up the whole construction. We can't really do it. And I think that's what happened to the Cleveland Browns. They had an infrastructure that was running around Nick Chubb, which really works well if you got a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, where you can run play action off of it. You can still run Nick Chubb on some things, and you can keep people out of the box or out putting too many defensive backs on the field. Well, now you don't have that. So now you're looking at it where, okay, well, now is it that much of an option if we say we're gonna bring Elijah Moore in jet motion? No, because I'll take away Elijah Moore and make guys like Jerome Ford or Kareem Hunt, who's diminished at this point, beat you, right? It works a lot better if you just plug in these guys. So you have Brock Purdy, right? If you bring Debo Samuel in jet motion, but you still have Christian McCaffrey that is available to run the zone, or you can run RPO and just throw it to Kittle, and you still have enough blockers like one of the best Trent Williams up front. What you gonna do? You can run, you can pass, you can throw the pop over the middle to Kittle, you can run deep play action, you can give the ball to Debo Samuel. All of it is viable because all of those guys can beat you. That's what the concept was supposed to be, but the infrastructure is not there for the Cleveland Browns to do the same things.
Yeah, most certainly. I really like Elijah Moore, and I'm glad to hear that he's got the talent that's still showing through. But I mean, it just seems like not only him, but Njoku really was kind of like Vernon Davis reincarnated. I thought that's the type of player we were going to get from him. And, there's been some ups and downs, had some flashes here or there, but just hasn't pulled through. I don't know if that's an offensive scheme thing. Maybe you can shed some light on that, or is that just he's just not as good as what he physically seems to be?
He's always had the physical talent. I mean, he just got in a bad fire. Like he had a fire accident or whatever, and he has like burns on his like face or whatever. Shout out to him because he still came back and played and had the most targets and the most catches from a young quarterback DTR playing against a solid Baltimore Ravens defense. But I think what's going on with him is it's a trickle down theory. Your offensive line, and we talked about Jed Wills. There's a lot of times where now David Njoku, when he came into this league, he was not a really good blocker. One thing that I'll give him credit for is he's turned himself into a pretty good blocker. And now what you're saying is because you do have a rookie right tackle and you do have a guy in Jed Wills who is playing like one of the worst tackles in the league. Now you see, instead of him going out for the routes that we want to see him run vertical routes and getting out in the open and being a mismatch in the open field, he has to stay back and block and chip. And, there's only a certain amount of routes you can run from chip blocks, right? You're usually going to be working the flats or something like that, nothing deep. So he's had to sacrifice some of his routes because you need to hold up to give the quarterback enough time to push the ball. So, that's one of the things I see with David Njoku is it's the opportunities. It's where are you putting him at? How are you going to work on it? You don't see that many red zone targets because obviously we haven't been in the red zone enough. Like, you would like to use him as a high point jump ball type guy. I think he jumped 7 feet. Dating back to his time at Miami, and he's just always had that tantalizing talent, man. It's like, when we first seen like a dude like Jimmy Graham, you're like, dang, man, this guy should be cold forever. But but you go back and look, when Jimmy Graham was Jimmy Graham, he had Drew Brees and a creative offense and all of the mismatches, right? As his career goes on. Obviously he plays for teams that, don't, Packers and you got the Seahawks and a lot of other teams. So I expect more out of him. I don't know how this thing, because he was listed as questionable this week, due to, him being in the fire or whatever. But I would like to see more of him. Hopefully there's something that they can do in order to get him out there. But it all depends on the protection schemes. You need time to throw the ball, and that's their option to kind of stop and pass rush at this point.
Well, and if he becomes a good blocker or is getting better, then that's a blessing and a curse. And we've seen it here with George Kittle. It's like, listen, if you have a weakness at one of these tackles, guess who gets to stay in and chip and block and do all those things? Well, that's Njoku. So I definitely hear it. Emmanuel says he's a member for 10 months. I appreciate you, Emmanuel. Coco Puff says, what happened to the Browns? They had Kyle and McDaniel. Yeah, true. That's very, very true. They did. But they also had a quarterback that nobody wanted to work with. And hell of a documentary that came out. We know why now. Brother Bob says, is Watson. All right. Listen at the riffraff. Brother.
Hey, listen, we don't got a problem with the shoulder massages. It's the other stuff that, you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, upper body is all good. Like, neck, elbow, we good with all that. Listen, shoot, he should be getting one right now.
Brother Bob says, see, GB's realistic. He knows the Browns are taking an L. Last week, BCS and the Cowboys YouTube content creators were saying straight nonsense, saying them boys were more physical. Daps to you, GB. Daps to you.
Well, listen, I had them. Even if Deshaun Watson was playing, it's an uphill battle. I've been saying it from Jump Street, right? And it's just not just the quarterback we talk about. Now, here's what I'm telling you. I've done some content with some Cowboys creators before as well, and the Cowboys, they're one of the most delusional fan bases in all the world. I mean, the Cowboys, they like really be feeling like they up next, and you're like, I don't see it. Like, you have CeeDee Lamb. That's it. Like, you can't, you know how the people be trying to pile on other guys. Like you can't be good just because you're standing there. No one cares about Gallup. No, I don't
Nobody.
understand. No one cares about him. Like you look, your offense. They say they got a good O line every year, and we be like, listen, Tyron Smith is like 90 by now. Like I know you drafted him young. Tyron Smith is 100, and quiet as kept. Dak Prescott. Yeah. By the way, that he don't look like he ain't walking right since the ankle. No. Listen, since the ankle injury, he does not scramble well. It looks like he's moving like really funny. And when did he start throwing these shot put moon balls? I'm watching the TV. He's shot putting the ball. I'm like, Dak, you can't get nothing on that, man. Where's the zip? I just, his lower body to me ain't right. The Cowboys be delusional. Now you listen, you got Michael Parsons, but what hurt you, Trayvon Diggs, well, you lost that and you had Gilmore. That hurt your heart. That's tough. Sorry.
Yeah, that was brutal. And you're right about Dak. I'll say this. It is very clear when he used to break the pocket, he would scare you. Like that was something you had to account for. Now you're like, break the pocket. First of all, you're not gonna get past the line of scrimmage, and you're not good at throwing on the move anymore. Like it doesn't look the same. He does not look the same since that injury. Definitely not.
And people probably say, well, Deshaun Watson doesn't look the same either. I know. See, I tell you, listen, see, I am married to what the film says, right? Yeah, I want the Cleveland Browns to win. But like, I'm not gonna put my football integrity on the line. I'm gonna play the game and watch the game for 40-some years. Like, if you ain't good, you're not good. I don't care if you got my uniform or a Cowboys uniform on. You're not doing it right now. So I'm not gonna be like, yo, we're gonna kill the 49ers. Stop.
Well, I don't think that there's a big chance to win, but I think there is a path to win any given Sunday. Any given Sunday. And the weather may play in your favor. The 49ers got to go cross country. They play the early East Coast game. So let's say we wake up Monday morning and the scoreboard had the Cleveland Browns winning. What do you think happened in that scenario? What is one thing that Cleveland must do to ensure that they have a chance to win this game?
First and foremost, dominate special teams. If you wake up and say the Cleveland Browns beat the San Francisco 49ers, first thing that happened was, did you block a punt? Did you block a field goal? Did they muff a field goal snap or some sort? Did you run back a punt for a long touchdown? Right? All four of those things. Did they drop a punt inside their own 5 or 10 that gave you a short field? First and foremost, you got to win a special teams game, and preferably getting a score or field position battle when you're talking about that. The second thing, the huge thing is, did you limit who did you limit, right? You can't beat the 49ers if you're going to let Kittle get 9 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But then you let Deebo Samuel get 60 yards on the ground plus another 70 in the air and a touchdown. And then you gave Christian McCaffrey 122 on the ground. And then Brock Purdy was 19 or 21. And no. Which one did you take away? If you're going to take one person away, you got to say, well, listen, Christian McCaffrey, we got people up here. It's going to be a long night, but a Brock Purdy, I need you to throw the ball in the rain, and I need you to be pinpoint accurate, and I need you to be able to do that with man coverage that's tight. So pick your poison. Whatever Jim Schwartz wants to do, I would lean towards making Brock Purdy prove it to me. Again, he's already done it. I mean, but we're not saying Brock Purdy, but we can't let Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and all those other guys kill you. So pick a poison, try to run with that. And the third thing that you got to do, turnovers. Can you get a strip sack? Guys Myles Garrett that can raise havoc, Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson up front. Can you get a sack? Can you get an interception and take it to the house? Can you, do some of those things to shorten the field as well? That goes back to the special teams thing. And then finally, because that's the weakest part of your field, what do you need to do up front? The Browns cannot get behind the chains. You can't have a good run on first down and it's 2nd and 2. And all of a sudden it's a holding penalty. You can't grab a guy just because, listen, hey, the quarterbacks need to know you got about 3 seconds. If it ain't there, you need to be looking to move and scramble because these ends is coming. No holding penalties that's going to stop drives, getting you behind. First and 20 ain't going to work for you. That's not going to work at all. So they got to stay clean. And then Kevin Stefanski has to have the play calling day of his life. He has to mix it up. He has to keep the rush off. He has to also stay committed to the run, but at certain times catch him off guard with some of the plays that he's going to call. He has to make some of the throws simpler, and he has to play the field position game. No going for it on in your side of the territory, being smart. So all these are things that need to happen in succession to beat a team like that. And then you need somebody for the 49ers to not have. We ain't forgot about Ayuk. We ain't forget about him. We have not. No, we didn't. You forget? No, he's close to our heart. We know exactly where he's at. Stop. Nah, we know. So So you need somebody to not have their best game. Maybe one of them. We don't need you to be terrible, but maybe if Ayuk drop a football that he should have caught, it's raining. Maybe, Brock Purdy got confused on something. Maybe he's loose with the football as he moves in the pocket. You need one of those. But that's the recipe to me for an upset of that magnitude, given the fact that you don't have a starting quarterback and your best players out for the season.
Yeah, most certainly. And it's interesting. Looking at the 49ers, there's so many weapons on this offense. You talked about all of them. And Dallas looked at it, and I think most Niner fans agree, like the head of the snake for the 49ers offense is CMC.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, if he's on the field and you dedicate all your resources to stop him, then that means everybody else is getting the matchups that they want. Now, if he's not playing, that can be an issue because now you can dedicate these resources elsewhere. The way that it works now is, regardless of what you think of Brock Purdy, what he's going to be long-term, how great can he be with or without these weapons? None of that really matters. What we do know is he's playing damn near perfect football right now with these weapons. And if that is the case, your best chance is to somehow make him feel uncomfortable in the pocket and hope he makes a mistake. You really have to take him away because you're not taking all 4 of the other weapons away. Like, you got to take the trigger man away. That's where it's at. And I think, Cleveland certainly has the horses to do it. Maybe you mix in the wind and the rain, if that is in the forecast, and maybe that's enough. But man, if it's not, how do you stop it? How do you stop this offense? It's absolutely insane what's going on right now. And as good as the defense is, the offense might be better.
Yeah, Purdy is right now. He should be top 3 for MVP. He's just playing that well, and the thing that makes him so special at this point is the fact that he's throwing with a lot of anticipation. He's some of these deep over routes and some of these routes over the middle of the field. He's throwing these into small windows with anticipation, and they're there. Like, it's just and his processing is elite. Like, I've seen times where he's been under pressure where he knows he can't block a defender coming off the edge, but he's processed so quickly with the defensive viz and he's thrown with anticipation, it don't matter. So he doesn't have the greatest arm in the world, and he'll tell you that, but Joe Montana didn't have the greatest arm in the world, and he was the GOAT before the GOAT, right? He doesn't throw the ball through a brick wall. He used a lot of touch, a lot of accuracy, and he threw it in anticipation. And for me, having trust as a quarterback and anticipation and accuracy, to me, are the biggest traits that I like, because that stuff travels, right? Having a strong arm, that'll fade, right? Having a strong arm don't do me nothing if you throw it in the cover 3 and you thought it was cover 1. It don't really work out that way. So, yeah, you got to pick somebody to take out of the game, and it's so hard because you almost have to have 2 rushers with when you play in the Niners, because Trent Williams is going to take one of them out. So you got to have rushers from different positions. You got to D tackles that can rush. You got to have another end opposite that can rush. You got to do some different things to kind of confuse them. And then it's crazy because you can't even devote that much into the pass rush because Christian McCaffrey is such a good receiver out of the backfield that, Well, he's not going to be in the block. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you split him out, like, you got a choice. Like, you got choices to make out here, right? It's like, do I want to pay the gas bill or the electric bill? It's the winner. That's a tough one. I got to have electric, but it's cold as hell in here. So I need this gas. So, yeah.
Official B&A Music says, Joe Thomas, 167 games played. Tyron Smith, 147. 161 by week 17. Yes, them Cowboys fans were delusional.
Yeah, Joe Thomas just never came out and played. He just think about how good you got to be that you block for all them terrible JV quarterbacks for your whole life. And not only you play for the JV, we was blocking for them JV quarterbacks. You never went to the playoffs. And you played every game, and you're a Hall of Famer. You know how good you got to be? Like, to be like, who's your best player ever? Linemen don't do anything. The only time linemen get noticed is if they get holding calls, right? So you know how good you got to be on a bad team that never went nowhere to be named as one of the best left tackles of all time? That's how good you got to be. Like, that's crazy to me.
Absolutely elite. Yeah, he's incredible. All right, G. Bush, listen, we've done the hour. It is time to give the official score prediction. I think I know where you're leading, but I'm curious to know the final score. How do you see this one going?
Man, I got this game. This is one of those games where Browns will play hard for a quarter. Myles Garrett will make some plays. They may even get out to a 7-0 lead, but attrition starts to set in. This is like the old video game Oregon Trail. As you move west, you got to go to meager rations.
Dysentery, man. Dysentery.
You lost Aunt Martha. Yeah. As the game wears on, you can't make enough throws. I think the defense for the 49ers, especially Fred Warner, is really going to cause havoc in the run game. I got this game 31-13. 31-13 49ers.
And we're like right there. And that's the big question. The 49ers have scored more than 30 every single week. So the question is when does they call it the Purdy 30? When does the Purdy 30 come to an end? Man, I think with this defense and this weather, if it goes bad, could be the week. It could be the week. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking at that forecast and I'm seeing a nice little break in the rain right around when that game starts. And it goes all the way through about 4:00, which is perfect. Yes, there might be a little bit of wind. Yes, that defense is tough. But that defense is only as tough as the offense allows them to be. And I don't believe that the offense is going to be able to move the ball enough to keep that defense off the field. And to your point, the defense may play well early. They have a lot of horses over there. But if you're on the field for 40 minutes, it becomes a problem. And I think that's where the issue lies. I just don't think the offense can help out the defense in this one. I'm right there with you. 31-13 was my score prediction, my man. We are right lockstep.
That's crazy, man. Great minds think alike. It's like we saw the same thing. They're like, man, this dude, man. Hey, man, he had this dude from Cleveland on, bro. He was dead on, bro. He was spot on. I got to be telling people I got a crystal ball. Now, of course, I hope that we can hold him to a little bit. But yeah, it's I'm right where you at. It's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be a tough one.
It is going to be tough. We'll get these super chats and we'll get out of here. My man, Brother Bob says, I repeat, 49ers 44, Moldy Brownies 6, being nice. All right. Hey, you had us blowing out the Cowboys. So until you're wrong, then right, I'll give it to you because I didn't see that. Randall says, G. Bush, does Miles play only on one end or does he move around the line? That's a great question.
Randall, look, Myles Garrett has now become I would say, you know how when Steph Curry used to just pull up from half court, and every other coach in the world that was coaching him, like an AAU coach or a little kids coach, would be like, "That is a terrible basketball play, and we don't shoot threes. Get the ball down low and pass the ball 97 times around the perimeter." Until Steve Kerr was like, "Hey man, listen, he's hitting that at 40%. That's a good shot. He gets to shoot whatever he wants." Myles Garrett is now doing that. They'll move. Myles Garrett is going to move all around the field. I think that you'll see him move more now because Trent Williams is fixated on one side. So what they're going to do, they'll move him, they'll stand him up, they'll drop him in coverage, they'll put him in the middle of the field and have him get like a running start. They'll actually have him fake one way, go another way. So he's going to be all over the place. That's just what Myles Garrett is going to do. And that's why I think that they will play well in the beginning, because I do think Myles Garrett will get home. I think Zadarius Smith is really good on the opposite end. Dalvin Tomlinson has been playing very well. They got a really great defense line. Shelby Harris, there's a lot of guys, Maurice Hurst, that been playing well. JOK is another guy that can move around. They'll play.
About JOK.
Yeah, they got 3 corners that can play man-to-man coverage. Now, the part of it is, the hard part is, San Francisco's runs these short, tight sets that really you don't want to press man because you're scared about some of the rub routes and the picks and the deep over stuff. But they got 3 corners that's going to work. So they'll try to use Myles Garrett as the Lawrence Taylor and kind of move him all over the place to see if he could confuse Brock Purdy. But they're going to move him around a lot. That's the thing that I think could gives a lot of teams trouble for the Browns.
Yeah, the 49ers put a lot of stress on linebackers too. I mean, you got Debo can come out of the backfield, you got CMC, you got Kittle, and that's the hardest part is you're gonna have a flaw somewhere, and no team is perfect. Official B&A Music says Browns front office owes Thomas a 5-minute fade.
They do. Yeah. Just lock the door. Don't make it the Sons of Anarchy fade when they lock that door with Obi. Like, no. Jax Teller got locked out. That 5-minute fade was tough.
I love it. Brother Bob says, ain't no way the Brownies are scoring a touchdown on our defense. Okay, we'll see.
We need a strip sack.
We'll see.
Hey, we trying to get it like when you ain't seeing. It's hard to stop strip sacks. Like I ain't saying you gonna throw no pick 6, but I'm just saying that's the way that's the way the small narrow way that you can foresee an upset. So
we'll see. Hey, Garrett, thank you so much for joining me once again. The link to his personal channel is in the description. This man is on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, YouTube channel, podcast. He's on 92.3 The Fan. He's on Bleacher Report. He's got his own YouTube channel. He is the man. Thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time, G. Bush. We really appreciate it, man. We really
appreciate you guys, man. Good luck to you the rest of the season. We'll be watching, and much love and success to you. You got a really nice setup, classy setup here, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. All right. Appreciate y'all.